What is up YouTube, James Baek here. Welcome back to another episode of VGC 2019 Baek Battles. Today we're using the Lugia team once again with Lugia, Kyogre, Gengar, Incineroar, Tapu Koko, and Amoonguss. If you haven't checked out the previous episodes, I highly recommend go checking them out, but we are going to get started and play some games with this team once again. So, if you do want to see a QR code of this team on the global link, be sure to hit that like button, especially if you enjoyed the video. It does help me out. And if we do hit the like goal for this video, which is 175 likes, especially for all the videos we use Lugia, we will have a QR code of this team on the global link if it hits that like goal. We got Kanto Kid VGC as our first opponent, 1457 rating, but does have a pretty okay team. We got Tapu Koko, Celesteela, Landorus Varian, Incineroar, the Lunala, and It's interesting to see the Celesteela. That was a Pokemon I felt like people were talking about. Could have been good in Sun Series, although we really never saw it. I mean, it had a bunch of options. It walled Xerneas. It actually did wall Xerneas. It had Wide Guard. It was a ground immunity. It was actually something that was probably good in theory, although just failed to contempt at anything. So let's see. What do I want to go here? Gengar is definitely coming against both of this because the matchup with Gengar is really good here. I'm thinking going Gengar, Kyogre, Incineroar, Lugia. Tapu Koko could be good, but I just don't like it. I like having a ground immunity too in this matchup. The Landorus could be annoying, just so I could switch in. Yeah, I'm gonna lead Gengar and Incineroar. I think it's my most solid lead. I have Lugia in the back with Kyogre. I could have seen myself bringing Amoonguss. I don't really feel like it's that good, realistically, because I don't think Amoonguss can do much to my opponent's team, especially with the electric terrain, and my opponent decides to bring it. Also, like, it just doesn't do any damage to my opponent. Like, the only thing it can really hit is his Xerneas, so I don't think it's worth it at all. We'll see what my opponent decides to bring, though, as we will lead our Gengar and Incineroar lead. Against what is my opponent going to bring here? It's going to be the Landorus and the Tapu Koko. Okay. So a bit annoying, yet not that bad. If you want an Earthquake, you have to go for the... okay. I guess it's an interesting spot here. We see it's actually a Choice Scarf Landorus based on the Intimidate going out first. So we can confirm that the Landorus is Choice Scarf, which means if it wants to go for Earthquake, Koko has to either switch out, which probably in Celesteela, or just Protect. I do have Icy Wind on the Gengar, so I think Fake Out Icy Wind is more of a safe play than anything because it catches whatever switching in. Landorus can't protect, or if it wants to protect, I guess it can go. That's fine by me. Locks itself into protect, I'll take it. But yeah, I'm just gonna go for Fake Out and Icy Wind because it covers a lot of things. I can get speed control, so my Gengar is even a bigger threat the following turn, and basically I could set up my Lugia potentially in the back, as we don't see any protects from the Koko. So I wonder what the Landorus is going for. Maybe a U-turn. We're going to see that Volt Switch actually come out in Incineroar, so Gengar's actually going to be able to keep it Sash, which is really good there. That Volt Switch did a good amount of damage. That's modest max special attack, if I want to say that's right. Celesteela going to come out, and that is fine because I will be able to get this Icy Wind off into the opponent. It does connect, which is really good, so we will be able to hit that Landorus for some decent damage. Really good damage, actually. Wow. As well as do an okay amount to Celesteela, which is leftovers, it looks like. Okay. Celesteela is going to be an annoying wall, but if I just do well with my Gengar, I'm fine. I'm pretty sure that Incineroar lives one Earthquake after that Intimidate, and probably lives an Earth Power at the range it's at. I kind of want to go Lugia here, and just going to go for the U-turn out into the Landorus, because I do want to get my Lugia in since the Lunala is away. And it's interesting to note that my opponent could only have brought one of either Xerneas or Lunala in the back. I'm guessing it's Lunala, but that is good to note, as we'll see what my opponent decides to do. We're going to see the Landorus retreat because it does want to preserve for later. Will also be knocked up by Shadow Ball potentially. We're going to see that Xerneas come out, so it looks like my opponent decided to bring Xerneas over the... my opponent decided to bring the Xerneas instead of the Lunala, so I don't have to worry about like preserving Gengar too much, as I could go out in a Gengar or I could go out in a Kyogre. Both have benefits and downsides. Kind of like Kyogre more. The reason I like Kyogre more is because it puts on a lot more offensive pressure to the switch-ins in the back my opponent has, specifically that Tapu Koko, and I don't have to waste my Gengar Sash yet, which is pretty crucial. So we'll see what my opponent decides to go for. It's going to be the substitute actually from the Celesteela. So Celesteela can set up a substitute, but it really can't do much behind the substitute. I wonder if this Celesteela also carries Wide Guard, because that's also really something that needs to be noted if it does carry it. But right here, my Multiscale's not broken either, so Z-Tailwind's very safe here. And the question is, do I Water Spout expecting a no Wide Guard situation, or do I just Scald for a safe situation? Celesteela is probably less inclined to switch out because it did take the time to set up the substitute, which is one thing that's kind of interesting about subbing here. It's kind of like wasting a slot because I'm not really threatening my Celesteela at all. I think I'm just going to Scald here. Even as Xerneas protects, that's fine. It didn't set up a Geomancy, and I could do the same thing the following turn. We're actually going to see a double protect here, which is really a curious decision. I think scouting, maybe expecting a Z move from Kyogre or something like that, but I mean, I just get a Z-Tailwind up. I'm able to Water Spout the following turn. Maybe my opponent thought I was Scarf Kyogre and wanted to see what I was locking into, and if I locked into that Water Spout, maybe you do have Wide Guard, but that means you won't have Leech Seed, so I don't know if that's the point for having substitute. Right here, I mean, Water Spout Aeroblast covers for everything. I think I can afford to go for a Water Spout too, because even if you Wide Guard, your options are to attack with Xerneas, which means you're still not in the best spot, or you Geomancy, and then Lugia probably 2 KOs to Xerneas, especially at that U-turn chip damage. So, yeah, like, I'm still in a fantastic position regardless. We'll go for the Water Spout and the Aeroblast. We should be able to pick up KO on the Xerneas slot, and yep, no Wide Guard, so Aeroblast should come out here. And yep, does about a little bit over 50%, as Water Spout will be able to knock out the Xerneas and Celesteela. What can I do? It can set up Leech Seed, but it's really not doing much otherwise. And that was the problem with Celesteela back in the Sun series. Like, Celesteela was, again, a Fury good Pokemon. Even I thought it could have been decent in the beginning of the format, but like, it takes so much from Kyogre Water Spout. It doesn't do anything back. Like, it can Leech Seed stall you, right? It did classic Celesteela things, but the problem is, Kyogre was so big that it could just damage you straight out. Like, it can literally just go for damage right there. Incineroar was pretty big too, because you know, Boosted Gleam and a Flare Blitz would always knock out Celesteela, so it wasn't exactly like appreciated. And yeah, also Mungus, you didn't really see Seed variant on Celesteela that often. Right here, we're in a very safe position just to Aeroblast and just to Scald, or we could Water Spout again, because it shouldn't be Wide Guard as the last move, I think, and even if you protect, that's fine. Again, I still think this is the same position as before. Like, yes, you're protecting here, but I'm like still in a really good position, but my opponent does have to stall at the Tailwind, so it does make sense. We'll get a Water Spout off into Celesteela, and we just knock it out with a critical hit. Probably didn't matter. Celesteela is a really tanky Pokemon, but that would have still done a lot of damage. If you substitute, you would have been screwed regardless, but like, I don't think my opponent would have got too much anyway. Maybe you could have broken my Multiscale, but the problem with breaking my Multiscale is, even if he did that, I still had my Gengar's Focus Sash. I still probably got a KO with Water Spout unless he got a double protect with Tapu Koko. So no matter what, I was still in a very solid position regardless. Incineroar plus Gengar, I think, just cleaned up the game too in the back. So yeah, there isn't really much to say here. I'm gonna go for Side Shock and Tapu Koko and Water Spout. I should have put Earth Power into the Lugia. I'm just saying. Keep forgetting to do that. We do get a Side Shock and a Tapu Koko. We do get the critical hit, which I think is only a 50% chance, since Side Shock doesn't have a high crit ratio. We do get the double knockout onto Landers and Tapu Koko, and that would be a good game to my opponent. So overall, no Lunala, which was really interesting to see. And yeah, I was just able to put on a lot of pressure. I guess even if my opponent Volt switched turn 1 into the Gengar, breaking my Focus Sash, I guess it didn't really matter because there's no Lunala I had to save my Gengar for. So yeah, just able to get that huge Icy Wind off right off the first turn. Being able to get that Tailwind up. The double protect was just the one turn I felt like my opponent really messed up, but like, there wasn't really much you could do, right? Because of the fact that I was just in such a dominant position where I got a lot of damage off. I got the Z-Tailwind up. No matter what you really did, not really much benefit. Maybe if you Moonblast special attack drop my Kyogre, maybe you had like a better chance, but otherwise it just really wouldn't have helped. And again, I don't think the critical hit mattered in the long run of the game. Sure, it made it so it was even easier to win the game, but I don't think it mattered too much in the long run, because I I had so many tools in the back and my opponent was so far behind regardless. But yeah, we got Scythe as our next opponent with the Yvelodon team. Okay. Once again, we're facing this. What did I bring the last time? I think I let Lugia Ensign. What was it? Lugia Ensign, Kyogre. Did I bring Amoonguss? I feel like I brought Amoonguss. Yeah, I probably brought Amoonguss. I don't think I brought Coco in. Did I bring Coco in this? I don't think I did. I could have seen myself bringing Coco in this, but I'm pretty sure it was Amoonguss just because I wanted to switch in and the Rage Powder. I think what I did was lead Lugia Instant. I'm pretty sure that's what I did against this team. Like, I'm just going based on memory. I'm pretty sure this is what I did in the last time because I remember playing this. Again, this is probably one of the harder matchups. The Yveltal is super annoying for my team to handle, especially since I'm not bringing my Tapu Koko. I don't have the best ways to deal damage to it, so I'm either going to have to focus everything away from the Yveltal, which is a little bit hard because the Pokemon that are on the opposing side is like hard for me to hit in the first place. So we'll see. Groudon Venusaur lead, okay. Which is fine for me. I will lead my Lugia and Incineroar here. Do I want to gamble with you going for the Sleep Powder immediately, or rather I go for the... So you could Sleep Powder here. Would you want to take a Fake Out is the question, because it breaks your Sash and the next turn Lugia threatens you. You could go Yveltal, I guess, here and attempt to Sleep Powder. I'm not exactly sure the benefits of that. I do want to get a Z-Tailwind up because I do want that speed control. And I think I want a hard U-turn to Groudon because the only way Groudon could knock me out is with a Z move, Banded Precipice Blades, or if we double up my Incineroar slot, which I'm not sure if we would do. I'm going to U-turn here, and I'm going to Z-Tailwind. As we will see the Groudon switch out, let's see what's coming out. It is going to be the Incineroar coming out, so that's fine too. I really think that the Lugia will... the Venusaur will probably be... What are they going for? Yeah, Protect, okay. So I got the best turn potentially. Yeah, I got the best turn possible. I get the U-turn damage. I get the Freezy Tailwind. And it looks like my opponent's last Pokemon will probably be the Yveltal. I can't imagine my opponent not bringing Yveltal. Like, Yveltal's just so good against my team. So you have Groudon, Venusaur, Incineroar, and the Yveltal on the back. So I get a bit of chip damage into Incineroar, which is always really nice in general. Good damage because I got a critical hit. I mean, the crit's not really going to be mattering for the game plan, but it could affect Aeroblast if it does come down to that route. I'm going to bring out the Kyogre anyway. One, it brings out the rain so the Venusaur's even slower. Two, I could retreat back into my Instant here to try and bait out the Groudon here, which is very, very tempting. Actually, what would you do here? You would A, Fake Out. The question is, like, do you Grass Knot here, my Kyogre, or would you Sleep Out of my Lugia? Also, the fact is, what would you do with the Incineroar? I kind of want to go for a Water Spout plus Fake Out. Problem is, I would take a lot if you Fake Out Grass Knot my Kyogre in this position. So I think I'd rather make the instant play. I'll play it a bit slow here. And I feel like I have room to play slow here since there is no Yveltal coming out. So we'll bring out the Incineroar here. And since the rain is up, my opponent's not really going to get too much out of this. Unless you U-turn out yourself, but like... I'm not sure if you turn out in this position because you could potentially lose both your Pokemon here if you don't Fake Out. And we will see that Fake Out come out. It does target the Lugia, so I could have got a free Water Spout. But let's see if we do go for the Sleep Powder. It is that Sleep Powder. Incineroar avoids though, which is probably the best position I could have asked for. Now what I can do is probably just recover. Who would you U-turn? You'd probably U-turn my, I'm not sure who you would U-turn, actually. I think what I'd rather do is Aeroblast the Incineroar and U-turn as well. Or maybe I Fake Out the Incin. You know what? I'm going to Fake Out the Incineroar. The reason I'm going to Fake Out Incineroar is because I could see U-turn coming out more than I could see as a hard switch. So we will get an Aeroblast off. Looks like Venusaur didn't Protect, which was a really good play by my opponent. As we get a good amount of damage to Incineroar. Let's see if the Venusaur is going to go for that Sleep Powder once again. It is one of the things with Sleep Powder. You do have to rely on the accuracy. Sleep Powder does connect with my Lugia, looks like. Yep. So, not the worst. Definitely not the worst. The problem is Venus was probably going to be able to get a sleep powder once again. I will attempt to wake up once again and go for a... I'll go for a U-turn into Venusaur because I could bring in the Mungus now. Because I don't figure Flare Blitzing the Incineroar slot. You could protect Venusaur. I could definitely see that as a play. Not exactly too sure. You might want to just try to Sleep Powder my Incineroar at this point. But we're going to see the Venusaur actually switch out into the Yveltal. Okay. Maybe trying to get that Dark Aura boost to boost up your Yveltal. As I feel like U-turn is very likely from the Yveltal. Lugia is going to take his guaranteed first turn of sleep. I haven't gotten anything that I really wanted. Maybe I should have just Aeroblasted the Venusaur. But I wasn't sure my opponent was going to risk the Venusaur. Like, it was a very good play to risk the Venusaur there. So, because you got heavily rewarded. I will go out into the Amoonguss right here. Because I can at least go back into my Incineroar afterward. Although, most of these teams on the Yveltal, they don't actually carry the strong Dark-type move of like a knockoff or something. Usually it's like Foul Play, Snarl, Oblivion Wing. What's the last move? Sucker Punch. They don't really have much that can touch my Lugia. If that's the case, I'm in an okay spot. We are going to see the Groudon come out. And I think it's a question of, do you go for the Precipice Blades here? Do you go for the Fire Punch into Amoonguss? If you go for the Fire Punch, I do want to go for the Spore. And if you go for the Precipice Blades, I could see double up in Amoonguss with Oblivion Wing plus Precipice Blades. No matter what, I wouldn't take that very well. So I think the play, if that's going to happen, I'd rather sack my Amoonguss at that point. I'm going to go for the Spore into the Yveltal, I think. Attempt to go for the Spore anyway. Because even if I lose my Lugia, I at least get some board positioning here. If you decide to attack my Lugia, because of the fact that I'm going to be able to get a Spore off an Yveltal, and then Kyogre could come in and go for Water Spouts. We're going to see that Snarl come out, no surprise there. Doing an okay amount. That actually did less to my Lugia than I thought. And I don't really care about the special attack shot because we're guaranteed crits with our Aeroblast, but we just see the Fire Punch, which does knock out the Amoonguss. So Incineroar would have been the better play there, but I wasn't exactly sure like which one you would go for. I did lose that 50-50, so we'll go on a Kyogre here, and now we're in a pretty good spot because Water Spout gets a KO combined with Aeroblast. We're going to do a lot of damage to something coming in. Something's coming in. Something's taking a lot of damage. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about that. So we'll go for the... I think I actually want to go for the Recover here more than the Aeroblast immediately. And we'll go for that Water Spout because we pretty much get the KO right here. Especially since that Snarl didn't do too much damage. I'm guessing it's the Salt Vest on the Yveltal. I get a huge Mystic Water boosted Water Spout. I probably get Incin, which is probably coming out. Or Venusaur, which means, yeah, that's completely fine too. I'll definitely take that. So we'll see Sucker Punch come out and a Kyogre do some chip, but like I think I'm okay with that just because I get decent damage off into Yveltal and I do break the sash on Venusaur. I do stay asleep with Lugia, which is unfortunate. Not the worst though, as like look at that damage. I did some really good damage here. And I can go for multiple plays here. I could go for Thunder, which is like what I'm thinking, into the Yveltal slot. Although Scald might be able to get rid of the Yveltal at that range. And I think Scald might actually be able to get rid of Yveltal at that range. Gonna go for the Aeroblast and the Venusaur and just Scald the Yveltal, I think. Because even if Groudon comes out, I think that's fine. We're gonna see the Venusaur actually protect, so that works out for me too. As Lugia does wake up and will be unfortunately going for an Aeroblast into protect. Recover would have been better there or anything, but I didn't want like a Sleep Powder coming out. Scald gonna come out and Yveltal does actually pick up the knockout, so we do get rid of Yveltal. And now my Lugia is kind of freed up because Lugia is gonna be able to take these hits very, very well here. As we'll see probably the Groudon come out or Incineroar, which is, I don't know, really interesting of a switch. Yeah, that's a really interesting switch. Because it's like you're saying, go for Fake Out into the Ogre. So I have a few plays. One, I could go in Incin, back in Incin for the Kyogre. Two, I could just click Scald, which is like very tempting here, and I am very much thinking it. Because I think you have to Fake Out with Incineroar at this point. I think the play I want to go for is always Tailwind here. And I think I do want to Scald the Incin. Because if you Fake Out Lugia, I get to knock out Incin, and that's probably the biggest threat to my Lugia. Realistically, like nothing else really hits it for much. Groudon can, I guess, Fire Punch it, but that's not going to do too much, especially after an Intimidate. Sludge Bomb won't be doing too much. As we're going to see the Venusaur switch out and comes out the Groudon. So, That's fine. Unless you're going for Flare Blitz in the sun, which now that I think about it, did that knock out Lugia? Not sure. I don't think knockoff would knock out Lugia, but maybe I should have recovered just for the multi-scale option. We will go for the Scald into the Incineroar. Mystic Water boosted. Doesn't do enough. Let's see. The U-turn though. Okay. It's supposed to be in a fantastic spot. Like, that's probably the best spot I could ask for. Because it's not Flare Blitz instead. It's actually a U-turn. It does go out into my opponent's Venusaur. So my opponent wanted to get Groudon and Venusaur out next to each other. But now, you're in a lot of trouble. Aeroblast gets a KO into the Lugia, into the Venusaur. I think I'm just going to recover and protect. I don't think you're going to go... I think your play is going to be protect and try to get a knockout into my Incineroar slot, which is probably coming in with the Precipice Blades. And yeah, I think that would be your only option at this point. We already revealed the Venusaur does have protect. I would assume you have to protect now because there's no reason really not for me to just go for the Aeroblast and the Venusaur and to switch out into Incineroar. But the problem is I do want to preserve the weather in the end potentially, as yeah, like Venusaur pretty much has to. But luckily I'm getting to read on my opponent this time, playing safe with the Venusaur since my opponent played aggressive last time, mixing it up. We will get the free recover off with the Lugia. Maybe you're going to go for Swords Dance, but even then, like, I'm completely okay. We're going to see the Precipice Blades into, yep. So trying to catch my Incineroar, KO, trying to catch the Aeroblast and the Venusaur, protecting it, and then going for the Precipice Blades to catch my Incineroar on the switch, which actually went a KO now that I think about it, so I could have actually just went Incin for free. Maybe a bit unnecessary, but right there, like, no reason really not to. As we can just go Incin now and Aeroblast because we get a KO on the Venusaur slot as long as we hit. And thanks to this Tailwind, we're in a fantastic spot regardless. So we're going to see the Incineroar come out one more time. But it's catching the Aeroblast. As long as we connect, we're in a fantastic spot. And again, Precipice Blades is not knocking out my Ogre. So we'll go Incineroar here. We do get this Intimidate off into the Groudon as well as the Incineroar. I wonder if there's going to be like some kind of play of... Let's see, is there going to be a play coming out from my opponent that could involve maybe a Swords Dance right here to maybe put on pressure? As we do knock out the Incineroar. Maybe like a substitute if it carries it, but I don't think it's going to carry sub. Yeah, it just goes for Precipice Blades. And this probably doesn't knock out Incineroar at the range stat. Yeah, not even close. That Groudon's probably bulky. Yeah. So we're in a very good spot here. Venusaur comes out. Lugia's pretty much the star member that wins this game. Groudon can't touch it. Especially if it's a set I think it is. It's -1. Precipice Blades did so little my Incineroar. I actually don't think it knocks out my Kyogre at -1. I think I'm actually going to go for the Aeroblast into Venusaur and going to go hard back in Ogre. The reason I'm going to make this play is because Tailwind's about to peter out, so maybe my opponent's going to hope, oh, I can get these... Actually, was Sun about to end? If Sun was about to end, I guess it didn't matter. I could have went for the fake out. But if Sun wasn't about to end, I feel like Groudon switched in recently. So what I could do here is just get the Rain back up. So Venusaur is still going to be slower than my Lugia. Either way, Lugia is going to be able to win this game. There's not much my opponent can do. And I thought maybe my opponent would go for the double protect there. But Fire Punch actually going to go on a Lugia, which really does nothing. As you see there. And now I can just go for... only -1 special attack, but do I go for Psyshock or do I go for Blast? I'd rather go for Psyshock and a Water Spout. Yeah, Psyshock and a Water Spout. Because that should be able to knock out the Venusaur unless it's like a Citrus Berry. And it does knock out with a crit. No, that's not even a critical hit. Okay, so we do knock out the Venusaur and we're just able to get a huge Water Spout off. It will come out in the ground. Probably doesn't KO because we're so weakened. Yeah, like barely misses the knockout. But then again, it's like, what? Our base power is probably like around 60. So that's not so too surprising. As we are going to see Precipice Blades come out. Let's see if it did target down the Ogre and would have KO'd. So, yeah, like special defensive Groudon just doesn't do damage after... Is it Intimidate once? Yeah, it's only Intimidate once. It just really didn't do too much. We can go for the, we can go for Psyshock. We could just Tailwind here. and Scald. I mean, no matter what, I don't think this ground has that much speed investment. We would have won regardless. So we are able to pick up a second win for today's episode, which is really good. I mean, overall, the matchup is hard, but luckily the thing about this Assault Vest Yveltal, which I believe that's what the opponent was using, is that it didn't have an immediate way to knock out Lugia, right? Like, Yveltal was super threatening. I didn't have good ways to knock it out, and it, put on a lot of pressure with the Dark Orb boost attacks. But the problem is, it didn't get much damage, and that was the thing. I was out damaging my opponent, even in Sun, even with the Snarls. I was able to do more damage, especially since my opponent Sucker Punched and I had to rain up and Groudon was forced to switch out at that turn. Like, I was doing the more damage to my opponent, and that's the thing. I was out damaging. I had the better position with Incineroar, and I was just able to pressure my opponent more, while even if Yveltal was in a great offensive position, it couldn't really abuse it because the best moves it had were Snarl, Oblivion Wing, I guess. It had probably Foul Play, I'd imagine. That's usually the standard Assault Vest Yveltal set, and Sucker Punch. Those moves weren't really doing too much, especially after an Incineroar Intimidates, so really, as you saw, even without Multiscale Lugia, it was a 3 KO. So it really wasn't doing much damage. Lugia could recover that off easily. I was getting good chip damage to my opponent overall. Like, the War Spout did like 40%, and the Skull was able to finish it afterwards. So, and that was a weakened War Spout too. So yeah, we just had so much pressure, I think, overall. And Gamer the Yveltal was super keen that matchup. But hope everyone enjoyed today's episode of VGC 2019 Back Battles. If you did enjoy, please leave a like down below, show support, as well as you can check out my other stuff down below in the description with my social media, as well as my Twitch channel and my Twitter. Be sure to give those a follow. And if you want to go that extra mile, there is my Patreon page linked down below in the description. Also down below in the description is the pay spin of the team. If you do want to go try it out, you can also feel free to leave a comment, as I do read them. You can ask me questions and all that other stuff, and I'll try to respond if I do have the time. Otherwise, that's pretty much it. Have a great day, people. Until we battle again, I'll catch you all later.